We are live streaming.
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the North Carolina Charter School Review Board Sub-Campus Committee. Our job is to review and put some recommendations in place for the Charter School Review Board with regard to sub-campuses. We're going to go ahead and do a roll call attendance.
John Eldridge,
Here.
Shelley Shope,
Here.
Eric Gucan, Stephen Gay, Lindolyn Kekadelis,
Here.
Todd Godby, and Hilda Parlay.
And I know Hilda is planning on joining us, and I think one is going to be a little bit late to the meeting. Is that correct?
I believe so, and I will keep my eyes on the Zoom link to make sure everybody's here.
Okay, and I think Steven said he was not going to be able to make it. He had a family commitment that he had to be a part of. So,
Correct.
all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the reading of the mission statement and the ethics statement. The CSRB mission statement: the Charter School Review Board works to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. And the ethics statement: board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the review board. Does any member of the review board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to the matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. All right. Again, thank you all for joining us today, and members of the North Carolina Review Board that have joined us to help with this. Again, our job today is to come up with some recommendations to bring back to the full committee for open discussion in a board meeting to hopefully put some guidelines upon what we just saw happen at the last board meeting with the TMSA subcampus. And so what I wanted to do, if you don't have it up on your screen, we have it on the shared screen right now, just to kind of review real quickly the notes that have been put into the Google Doc that was shared with everyone to put up what their ideas were with regard to where we find ourselves right now. So if you have it up on your computer, go ahead and scroll through it. If not, if you don't mind, Nikki, if you can just kind of give some time for everybody just to review it and then scroll down and then we'll begin.
Nikki, did you send that out?
No, I believe John shared it with the group.
Okay. I'm looking for the email. So
If you don't have it, give me a second and I'll share it with you right now so that you can bring it up on your screen. All right, just give me a moment.
that'd be great, John.
Yep, I can do that right now. Hold, just give me just a second.
I'm behind on my email, so I apologize if you have sent it and I haven't gotten it.
Okay, I just shared it with you right now, so you should get a share
Okay.
document. And I'm also going to copy the link and email that to you as well, just in case you have any kind of issue with the invitation I sent you.
Okay.
And this is going to your DPI email, okay?
Oh, okay. Okay. That may be why I didn't get it. But DPI. Let me see if I can.
There you go. You're down to the opportunities. All right, so this is a document that we can continue to kind of peek through. I think this is just an opportunity for all members of the Charter School Review Board, whether they were able to make this meeting or not, to kind of give their 2 cents on where they saw things as they walked out of the room after our last meeting in September. So, kind of kicking it off to the group as to where you would like to begin. I have some thoughts that I've had in my mind, but I'd like to give you guys the opportunity. Do we want to start with what's a disqualifier from this type of opportunity? Do we want to start with what's an automatic or the lowest level of um, feedback that has to come from the Office of Charter Schools or the Charter School Review Board? Where would you guys like to begin? Anybody have a driving desire?
Yeah, John, I'll start. I don't know that I guess I'm unclear that if we actually need to form a quote unquote policy. Right now, as it stands, we CSRB, we have the power, the right to say yes or no to these schools.
Mhm.
The only thing that I can think of that would be really important, I feel like, is if we've got a school that comes to us and they are, they're successful, they're performing well, they're financially stable, they've got a track record that is solid. What can we put into place that they don't need to have to jump through a million hoops. They've got proven records. We know they're doing well financially, and they're why should we make it even harder for them? I mean, that concerns me when we start looking at this list of policies that we're gonna maybe even, maybe the schools wouldn't want to do it, but if they want to do that, I think we should have a possibility or an ability for them to be able to go through that process.
Yeah.
And maybe it's hitting it from the other side. Don't come to us if you are an F school or have some kind of huge
Okay,
financial whatever.
Shelley, you're knocking on the door of where I think most of our minds are right now. So just to kind of throw and spitball out there, things that I've heard people say is in the time of schools deciding to um, create a subcampus, whatever the term is that we're going to use. I've heard someone say, should we consider it a subcampus expansion? So that, you basically, someone's not seeing this as a new school. You're just expanding a home school that you already have, so that you can see, yes, we are in fact expanding. Um, if you're a 10-year and a 7-year and you're in good financial standing and you have nothing that's going to be an issue, does this something that could be the Office of Charter Schools just says you fit that criteria? Yes, you can create that subcampus, because that's kind of how it happens with an expansion right now. If you're a 5-year, or if you're a 7-year that has some financial issues or something like that, then are you required to come before the Charter School Review Board to present how you're going to be able to balance what you're doing with your already existing school and a new campus? So those are kinds of some of the things I've heard kicked around to kind of, and I don't think it's a policy. I think we're more talking about guidelines or even guardrails to make sure that we have a way to monitor the way that this progresses forward without causing any more red tape than's needed. Linda Lynn, what's your thought?
I'm in total agreement to that. And I also think it should be that can come before the review board at any time. That they're not locked in to just, this month or these 3 months. Um, Again, we have a track record with them. So we're not talking about anybody that's not, we haven't worked with the board. The Office of Charter School hasn't worked with them, and they're in good standing. And I think we're at the point where, um, if you're not in good standing, there's reasons why. And um, this will just it streamline the process.
So what I guess what I hear you saying is we need to be concise about what good standing is and what it means when you're not. And then if they are in good standing, I think what we need to be able to bring forward to the Charter School Review Board is, what's the process then? Does everybody still have to come before the Charter School Review Board to say that you intend to do this, or are they capable of just going right to the Office of Charter Schools, and the Office of Charter Schools, because it fits that criteria, can say, yes, you fit that? how does this board or this committee feel about that? Eric, what are you thinking, or Hilda?
Well, first of all, I think we should define what a sub-campus is. And then I agree with those who are in good standing. Obviously, we could overlook the fact that they would have to come before us. But at this point, I think we first need to define what a sub-campus is.
Well, it's already on. If you look at the screen in front of you now, there's a definition that already exists for what a sub-campus is. It's the addition of a new campus for an operating charter school. Must
Okay.
operate under the same PSU and charter agreement as the main, in quotes, campus, but operate at a different physical address as the one listed in Eddy.
Okay, so when did that sub-campus definition, when
It's-
was it formed?
I'm not sure. I just know that that's what was provided by Ashley in the Office of Charter Schools.
Oh, okay. All right, all
What's in
right.
play.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Eric?
Yeah, I need help with the acronyms. What's PSU and Eddie?
Public school unit
Okay.
is so that's basically any school that's in the public school setting.
Got it.
And then Eddy is the program that houses all the school's information: physical address, phone number, board member, head of the school, things of that nature. So Eddy's like the keeper of all the school's intel, basically.
Yeah. So just to build on what I think Hilda's question was, as a new member, I wasn't completely clear on and I'm a new member, so I wasn't completely clear about what a subcampus was. I don't think we're trying to add bureaucracy necessarily, but I do think policies can actually streamline things if we do this right. I think we really need to define what in good standing is, and but what is in good standing for a subcampus? I think obviously we want to reward good actors and and eliminate bad actors in this. But I think there is a thing where you're a good actor and you're crushing it with, I'm just making this up, 300 kids. But if you add a subcampus where there's more students and more revenue and everything else, that you could grow too fast, and that could do harm to kids. Again, I don't think we want to be micromanaging that from Raleigh, but I am interested and curious about a lot of these comments that were in the Google Doc were mine, and I'm just curious what other states do. What is the national best practice? I mentioned the Charter School Growth Fund, another one that the National Association of Charter School Authorizers. Like, what is that warehouse of best practice tell us? And again, we don't have to do it exactly that way, but I just would rather not be starting from scratch.
Well, I think some of these organizations are going to say, well, if you go through our organization, that means you're the best. And that just grows their organization. It doesn't necessarily mean it. I mean, there's good and bad schools in every situation. So as far as nationally, Eric, you're going to see things all over the place. You go to Arizona, you see very, very little. I mean, you can set it up very quickly. As far as good standing, I think the definition there should be not low performing, no financial non-compliances. What we have used in the past, or what we use even now for charter schools expanding.
Yeah, because there is a
same thing.
definition I mean, there is some sort of measurement around your ability to expand. So yeah, that's a good point, Linda Lynn, because there's already some language that exists around that. And really, what we're talking about here is expansion. But what we're used to when we say expansion is like I might be going from K-8 to K-12 in my already existing school and building a new building. This is talking about expanding and taking everything that I'm already doing it and putting it someplace else. And I think as we saw why I think most of us, we still had some questions and folks were scratching their head a little bit about what TMSA was doing. You take a look at every one of their schools that we're talking about, they're a high performing A schools, financially sound, all those things. So I think if we were to think of a model that we would all hope that folks would look like before they come and even decide to do this, it would be a TMSA kind of situation. Would you agree?
Totally.
Yes.
Maybe not all A schools, okay,
Right.
but
A, B.
at least no low performing schools.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
We need to remember, and Eric, you're right. Somebody that can grow a school at 300 may not be able to do double that. They may not be able to, but that's kind of, again, a risk that we take because we don't want to slow the growth. We've got so many kids on a waiting list. And the truth is we can call any school before us at any time and interview them and say, what's going on? How's it going? But the ones we're looking at have good track records.
And maybe to Linda Lynn's point on that, and what Eric is saying too, maybe if a school is interested enough in wanting to open a sub-campus expansion, then they should be willing to want to come in and tell us the story as to why. So it may be one of those things where regardless of the school, you might not have to fill out the entire full application, but we'd like you to come in and tell us why you're wanting to do this and is the interest there and things of that nature. So maybe this is one of those, at the end of the day, you're interested in doing this, you're going to come in and tell the Charter School Review Board why. And it's a chance for you to brag a little bit about your school, but it's also a chance for us to ask any questions that we might have about, are you going to be able to make it happen, to Eric's point? Like, if you're going to double in size, is this really something you guys are prepared to take on? And if so, tell us why.
I agree with
I
that.
agree, John.
I think it's good for them to come in so we can see the
Right.
particulars and hear their reasoning why they want to do it.
Right.
So I have a problem with that. As long as it can happen anytime during the year, so that we're
Yeah.
not putting these with the same applications because they're different than
Mhm.
applications.
And
Right, I agree. We
regardless,
should not just rubber stamp.
yep. Eric, what are you thinking?
I'm just recalling what you said, John, at the outset of this. I'm going to drop their name, but the TSA. What's the name? What's the acronym? Sorry, the school that we
TMSA?
TMS.
TMSA.
Yeah, it's Triangle Math
Yes.
School, Triangle Math Science Academy.
TMSA gave a very compelling case for why, and even before they did that, you were saying, I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about the precedent that this sets, and so. I wonder, yes, I like the idea of schools coming and presenting what they're going to do. I do wonder, and I think the performance and also the financials are important. But if you are moving a campus into a different location with different demographics, that is a thing. Like, even if you could be high performing, the same way I was saying with the growth of the students, you could be high performing in one area and then be not as high performing in another, depending on the demographic, and vice versa. I don't want to slow things down, similar to what Linda Lynn and Shelley have shared. I agree with that. But I do think, I worry that we're going to get folks that see a loophole here and then start. I think the process, though, of them, I'm thinking out loud here. I think the process of them coming to us, I leaned over to one of my colleagues next to me when they were giving their presentation. I was like, you can basically tell within 3 minutes of them talking whether or not they're going to make it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so, like, I do think that going through that exercise, we don't have to have a
No.
page application, to Linda's point, Linda Lynn's
Right.
point.
Right.
But
Right.
I do think, the exercise of going through it, and then if they see, we can kind of decide the standard as we go. That sounds a little, but that way we're not, and then we can develop a policy based on sort of what we're hearing. It'd be a little more organic, I guess.
Yeah, and as a reminder, when they do an expansion like this, when you're a subcampus, there's only one school number, right? So
Right.
if the school in Apex is a high performing school and I go to Durham and that school is a city, all the test scores, all the finances, everything about the school is one school.
I see.
So the scores from the Durham school and the school from the campus in Apex are actually under one umbrella. So if there wouldn't be a low performing school in Durham and a high performing school in Apex because they're one school.
I see.
So and it's that way with the finances. You know, one of the things I listed in advantages is that helps you with group insurance for your teachers for a cost savings in your budget, 401k advantages with the number of people contributing. So there's some good things here. Um, I do want to toss out a couple more things for you guys to consider though. So as you look in the definition right now of subcampus, you see main is in quotes, right? The agreement as the main campus. So, and I don't mind pulling Bruce into this conversation, but Bruce and I had a conversation off to the side. If, let's say, for instance, this school, and I'm just going to keep using TMSA because they're the first to do it, right? So, the school in Durham now wants to put a school in Roxborough. Well, the main campus is in Apex. So we're not replicating or expanding what's going on in Durham. The main campus is Apex. So my question for you all is to consider, and I know that this is going to be, there's going to be many more that come up down the road with regard to this. Things are going to come up, but should distance play a factor on the decisions that this group and the charter school review board consider when where the main campus is located, like say for instance Apex, if they want to put one in Murphy, is that problematic, right? So I mean I think that's a question that we need to kind of iron out and be ready to come back and have a conversation with the board about, because I'm sure there are board members that are wondering what about how far the schools are apart from each other. So thoughts.
Right, because that would change the demographics.
Well, if you even move it like what TMSA did, they could change the demographics, Hilda. I'm more concerned rather than location. I'm more concerned if they make a case that they can fill the school. Because that's the problem we're seeing across the board is, people go, oh, we're going to have 500 students, and they end up with, not that many, that they maybe have thought that through.
I think the conversation about distance becomes more of this board over the years has been concerned about schools that are like I have a school in Charlotte and a school in Raleigh that's governed by one board. So,
Right.
so really the conversation becomes if TMSA is really successful because of the school leadership and the governing board, is the governing board going to have the ability to be able to span that distance and still be successful working maybe in a totally different area? So I think that's really the questions that I've been hearing coming from some of you and from some people outside the charter school review board, but in the charter space has been that question about distance and what would our recommendation be to the state or to our full board as to how to manage that distance question.
There has been some research on that, and I forget what they call it. It's a hybrid model of a charter school having the same board, that having the same board is very beneficial in when you expand. I can dig that research up. It's probably a little old, but it is called a hybrid model.
Is that similar to what KIPP is doing? And if so, is KIPP successful in all of the areas where their schools exist?
No, KIPP has different boards at different schools.
Oh, for different regions.
Right. But there is one, I think it was Cato. I'm not sure who did the research. I'll have to dig up on that. But we had Roger Bacon Academies. They've got like 4 different locations: Wilmington, Columbus County, but they have the same board.
Mhm.
And that was a hybrid model. Now, they have not been as successful as some of the others in other states, but that's the concept.
Anybody else on the distance question? Shelley,
Mhm.
Eric, Hilda?
Uh,
I can see it being problematic. When I mentioned the demographics, I'm thinking about the kids who you would target in those areas. It cannot exactly mirror the bigger school, if you will. So who they will attract can make a big difference in distance.
John,
But
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Shelley.
I know where I am. I mean, the 5 mile that we have in place right now would give me a totally different demographic from where I am. So I can see that, like Hilda said, I don't see that you're going to be able to replicate the same makeup of, of your school. I'm sure it's going to be, similar, but I could, depending on which direction you go in, just, from my school, it would look totally different. I just, my gut says, if we've got schools that we are deeming successful, financially and, academically, they're if we know that if they're doing well financially, then they're keeping their enrollment. They're stable with their enrollment. Their finances look good. Those things can kill a school before, no matter what kind of education is going on inside. So you've got that, and then you've got the successful results, student results. I don't know. I've been in administration for longer than I'd like to admit, 20 couple years, and I have sat in the seat behind many different demographics, but have worked really hard and made every school that I sat at successful by the time I left. It didn't matter what it looked like on the inside. Strong school leaders and a good, strong curriculum model can work wonders no matter where you put them. And so if we've got schools that show that they know how to pick a good, strong leader, then let's let them, and let's open it up for kids to have that great quality, and parents to have that choice.
Thanks,
I would-
Eric.
Yeah, I compelled by what Shelley just said. I was also struck by what you said, John, about when you expand, you're measuring, you're still held to the same account.
Mhm.
It's in Durham, and so therefore, these schools are taking out a fair amount of risk when they do that. Like
Right.
you got your nice little situation, and then you have your sub-campus. Like that's risky. Hitting all the issues here. In regards to the boards, I'd rather have one strong, high-functioning board than 3 or 4 representative but diffuse and not getting along boards every time. So I don't. But that it isn't always that way, and I understand both sides of that issue.
So maybe what I hear,
it's kind of arbitrary geographically. Like, what do you say?
right?
I think we've done this with some policies, like 10-mile radius, a 15-mile radius. Is it a county? You could do the education zones that are, that DPI has, but again, everything's fairly arbitrary.
Right. And if we're requiring all schools that are deciding to do this to come in and tell us why, then we don't even have to worry about that moving from one county to another county, because then they would be required to come in. So if we just said, you're thinking about doing this, you're going to get to come in and tell your story why. I think some of the questions that we're asking right now about how are you going to handle the distance, how are you going to handle the support for the sub-campus to make sure, like whether it's 10 miles away or 100 miles away, how are you going to provide the same level of support at the ones, the just basic questions that if they can, as you said, Eric, in 3 minutes, I can tell whether or not they've got what it's going to take, or I have still some question marks over top of my head.
Yeah, and as a board, when they present to us, we also have to be willing to say, you're not ready.
Yeah.
And then that way we develop a clear rationale for why. You're not ready because your board doesn't seem to be high functioning, or you haven't picked the right school leader,
Right.
You don't have the finances straight, or and one of the things as a new board member, that I'm really impressed with this board is it's a high functioning board. Like these are, I think there's a lot of school leaders on there, a lot of people that have done the work, of which I am not one. Like I haven't done directly that work, but it's helpful to have the different perspectives, and I think we'll catch those things.
I think you're right.
I think we've got to, and I don't want to make it completely about the people, but.
Right. Thank you, Eric.
I agree with Eric, what you said, Eric, as far as the important thing is the high functioning board and the school leaders. The risk that they're taking, because they are taking a risk, because their academics will be connected with the academics of the school they currently have. So I feel pretty good. I mean, very good that if we've got a track record, the school's not going to want to blow their track record.
Right.
And so coming before us, and I agree, coming for us, we can let it go. We can not let it go. We vote on it, and let them take the risk of it.
Yeah, and I think we can be good thought partners, and yeah, we'll hold them to account, but we're also, thought partners and kicking the tires. And
Yep. So to steal Hilda's statement, there's just not a rubber stamp. It's going to be, you come to a presentation, we say yes, we say no, and if it's a no, here are the rationale as to why we said no. Here's things for you to work on if you decide that this is something you want to do in the future. Think through these things.
And again, John, to let it happen as they come up, not hold them to one period of time of the year. I think that's very important.
Okay.
if you say no, when can they come back? Can they come back next week, or do they have to wait a year, or how does that work?
Well, here's in most cases, and this is just me thinking logically about the school openings, like you need a year runway, right? Unless you've already got a facility and you're coming in and I'm ready to move in next week, but you're still going to not want to start till the beginning of the school year, so you have time to market it and do things of that nature. So if we're going to look at these, whenever these schools come before us, I mean, that's a great question. When is your plan to open, right? And if they're saying, well, we want to open in 6 weeks, then obviously we're going to be like, that ain't gonna work, right? But if they're like 6 months, we've already got a building, we've already been marketing, we've done this, we've done that, we've done this, then we can handle that situation. So I think if we do shoot them down, say we're not satisfied with your financial plan and we don't like the fact that you're still looking for a school leader, and a month later they come back and say, hey, we've addressed the financial issue and we've got a school leader. What are your thoughts now? I don't think it's harmful for us to entertain. I don't think this is going to be something that we're going to see come up as much as we think it will. It's going to be those schools because there's some schools, I've even talked to a few, I'm like, man, you guys need to think about this sub-campus thing. And they're like, we're very happy with what we've got. Right. So I don't know that we're going to see this happen. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the reason why we're having this discussion today is because of the existence of bad players in this space.
Sure.
And so I think that's really the guidelines are not for the schools that are killing it. It's for anybody that sees this as a shortcut to getting to what they want. You better be on your P's and Q's when you come into that room to speak to the Charter School Review Board. That to me, that's that should be expected. So if I could just summarize real quick and then make sure that we haven't missed anything. What I've heard is a no to this entire process is if you're low performing. If you're a low performing school, then you do not qualify for a school expansion or a sub-campus expansion. So I think that's our first recommendation to the full board. Does that sound accurate? Okay. The next is any school that is planning to do this will have to notify the Office of Charter Schools. The Office of Charter Schools will get them on our agenda, and they have to come in and give a presentation to speak to the questions of what we've already mentioned. Why expansion? How are you going to handle the academic? What's your academic plan for the school? What's your financial plan for the school? How are you handling any distance issues that you see with making sure that you guys are able to keep things in the box the way you want it to? Almost the presentation we saw from TMSA, right? So if we have those things set up and give them the guidelines of what we want them to come in and talk about, and then give us time to ask questions, then after that presentation's done, we have deliberation. After the deliberation, we have the opportunity to vote yes, we approve this expansion for the subcampus, or no, and here's our list of reasons why.
John, I have a question.
Hilda.
Should we say for those schools that are continually low performing?
I
One
don't
school
know
may have been
because
low
if the
performing just
I think
once.
I think at the time that, let's say for instance my school got a D last year and it's the first time they got a D and
Yeah,
they went from a C to a D, they're now low performing. When they're going to fill this application out, you're a low performing school. You are not in a position to get your, you need to, this is just John thinking out loud, Hilda.
yeah.
You're sitting with a school that's low performing. I don't know that you're in the position to be able to come in and say, I'm ready to go open another one when this one's low performing.
Amen.
But for just once, you said it only happened once. I can see
That's
that they
that's my opinion.
continually low
If you've
performing.
dropped from a B or a C, an A, B or a C down to low performing, that tells me you've got something internal that you didn't know was happening, and you got some work to do there before you come in and tell me you want to run another school.
And
John,
we're
This
not
is
saying like you can't do that for the next 3 or 4 years, but
Right.
yeah,
as the leader of a school, I would say before I am spreading myself thinner, or as the board, I've got to concentrate back right here to get me back to where we were.
And let me give you a good example. So that doesn't mean the school can't apply to open another school, right? Like think of that school in Durham.
right.
That just came before us, and we approved them to do another campus. But um, they did a replication, right? So they're a continually low performing school, but they show growth they've exceeded growth 14 out of the 15 years that they've been around. It's I think what I've heard the rest of the board say, or the members on this committee say, is that they're not comfortable with a low performing school just up and recreating another school that's supposed to be expanding the one that they're already running when it's been low performing. Am I missing anything, Linda, Lynn, Shelley, Eric?
I think that's right. And that school that came before us from Durham had been low performing before, but has not been low performing in the last 4 years. At least I know that. Because you can't exceed growth and be low performing.
Well, continually low performing. That's right.
Right.
Because
Continue.
you could still be a D school and exceed growth.
Right,
Right, but
exactly.
then that doesn't, I mean, I don't think that puts you on the low performing status. I may be
That's why
wrong
I'm
about that.
playing with.
Jenna, can you chime in?
Especially
Yep, I
just
can
happened
chime in.
once.
It's Linda Lynn is correct. So to be labeled as low performing, you need a score of a D or an F and either met growth or not met growth. But in the case of
So
IDYL,
exceeding is the thing.
yeah, so if you exceed
Okay.
growth, regardless of your school performance grade, you are not on that low performing list. And then the continually low performing is if they look at the last 3 years of data.
Right.
So you could
And
not be on the low performing list, but be on the continually low performing list because of 2 years prior.
and guys, we have seen some schools that have made tremendous progress, but they're still on the continual low performing, and they will be for, like what Jenna said, you got to be not low performing for 2 out of the 3 years. So you could, I'm just thinking right now of Rise. They were on the continual low performing list. They didn't exceed growth. They met growth, but they had, and Jenna, you may help me on this. Rise had, I think, the most growth of any
Yeah,
charter school.
last year. So they were on the
Yeah,
continually low performing list because
off
of
of low
the
performing.
20, correct, off of low performing, but on continually low performing because of 22, 23 and 21, 22. But now this year, because they've continued their high performance, they're 2 years
Right.
off and now they're completely off that list.
Right. And that's the only thing I would say, and it'd probably be very rare situations, but I'm looking more at low performing list. What
Yeah,
did you do last year?
right. And I agree. So that I think it changes, and maybe to go along with what Hilda was trying to say, is that if I've exceeded growth and my school score is a D, I'm not low performing then. Yeah, I didn't I forgot about the exceeding part. So they would be able to, because they've been showing um exceeding their growth
Exceeding growth.
requirements.
Right.
Otherwise, we may stop the growth of schools that some children really need. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I'm
But
not going to hammer that issue, but
yeah, but I totally 100% agree there. And I think it really is one of those things where if I see a school like Rice finally clicking on all cylinders, they don't need anything to interrupt that. Make sure you get that consistent. And then if you feel like now you've gotten yourself into a place where you'd like to go to another area that's very similar to where you are and do that same work, then you've done something that you can replicate because you've been able to show over a period of time. We've found the secret sauce, right? Until you got that secret sauce, you need to keep plugging away at what you're doing to get to where now I feel comfortable enough that I could do this someplace else. If you haven't figured out how to do it where you are, you shouldn't be thinking about how you're going to do it someplace else, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Good question. All right. So that's really basically all I really hear from you guys right now is that we've got to use the track record of the school, hear the rationale for why they're wanting to do what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, how you're going to, get over any hurdles that might be in your way with distance or things of that nature. And then basically the cutoff line is that if you're low performing, you need to continue doing the work that you're doing to get things where they need to be at the school you're currently in before you even think about doing something else. And that sounds like to me, unless you've got
The only
something.
other,
Yeah, what
the
else?
only other thing I would add is financial noncompliance.
I think any
That's the kind,
noncompliance. I think you're talking about federal noncompliance, financial noncompliance, anything with EC, anything that's in there that's noncompliance. You say that disqualifies you?
well, I'm not saying it disqualifies you, but you'd better have an answer for it because some of these non-compliance things, they've been very, I mean, talking to the school leaders, I know like in movement, they were non-compliant and then it found out it was a mistake that DPI had made.
Right.
Uh,
In
it can
other
be so
words, be
touchy.
prepared to address any non-compliance issues that you have
Any,
when you
no-
come to the
be,
interview.
right.
Okay.
Be prepared to address those. We'll ask about them and they may have a great answer or we've taken care of it.
Right. Because I'm thinking about what we can give to the Office of Charter Schools to be able to send out to, like when they're coming in to do the renewals, they get a 4 or 5 slide deck that they're supposed to slug some information in so that we can all review similar data for each school. I'm trying to think about what we can provide guidelines for the Office of Charter Schools to send out to schools to be prepared for. So every interview is consistent as opposed to, well, this school get this interview and this school get that interview. I think we need to have something that we're sending out to say, why do you want to do this? How are you going to do this? What are the financial barriers that you see and how are you addressing them? How are any distance issues that you see? How is your board addressing those? Those kinds of questions so that when they come in to do their presentation, one school is not going to get a different interview than another.
Right. Another thing I would
Agreed.
ask is if when they do the renewal, they do that chart of performance and how it, I always like to see that chart. I don't know if we want the school to address their performance like the last 3 years or, just so that we can, do you know the chart I'm talking about, John?
Say it one more time.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
the chart that they, for performance when a school comes for renewal.
Right. Jenna provides that.
Jenna, you know what she's talking about, don't you?
Right. I do.
Yeah, and
Jenna,
we
do
can
you know?
make it. I mean, it's just like we provide the last 3 years of data, and then I mean, we provide subgroup comparability data and comparability to the LEA, which might not matter in this
Probably not.
circumstance, but you could certainly pull all the other data so you could make a modified version of that data sheet.
Yeah, a modified version of that I think would be good and it would be consistent. You're talking about John having something consistent. That would be consistent. And it would also, not saying we would have any bad actors that would, say our growth, Shelley, you've seen this, the way they spend their growth sometimes is like, well, I don't know about that. And this would make it consistent.
Eric, you unmuted. What's up?
No, I'm sorry. I had a phone
Right.
call.
I thought maybe you were ready for another comment. So I was in the state of South Carolina, and it's funny. South Carolina just had a school just like TMSA. Great Collegiate Academy just did the same thing. They expanded from where their home school is to Irmo, South Carolina, and it's sent the authorizer Erskine into okay, what are what are these guidelines going to be like? And so I'm actually in contact with their representative that deals with all school renewals and school applications and things like that to garner any information that they pull up down there. And I said that we would be willing to share anything that we have going on here too, to Eric's point of what are other states doing? What are some of the thoughts that they've gone through? Just to make sure that because I think what we want to all make sure of, that anybody that's listening to this or listening to the next charter school review board meeting, this isn't going to be we're just going to start handing out charters like Halloween candy and this is how you circumvent the application process, and this is how you do this and do that. I think if next time we face this situation, the process that we use, we're going to scrutinize it. And if we saw any mistakes there, if we saw anything that we could do better, then I think that this committee at that time comes back to look at how we did the first school with TMSA, how we did the second one. Is there anything that we're getting from feedback from the charter school world that we need to either further consider or draw things in a little bit? So it's just, I think that's what TMSA did is what charter schools are supposed to do. We're labs of thinking through how to better do education to the benefit of the students of North Carolina. And so, while I was a little shook up by the product, because I didn't think of it, dang it. I wished I'd have done this for Central Carolina Academy. I was shook up about that, but it was also eye-opening. Wow, if there's schools that are out there and they're just not doing anything because they have to go through that whole application process, because it's hard to do that, and they're ready to go, why would we stand in their way? Why would we do that? So
I think this is perfect timing with what happened yesterday with the federal government. And congratulations, John. I know you're on the board of the association, and this is perfect for the association. I think they got over $53 million for expansion of charter schools in North Carolina.
yeah. Yeah, so thank you for that. Rhonda's team did a lot of work. Now it's kind of the dog that grabbed the bumper. Now what are we going to do, kind of thing. So you get that money. Now we get to think through how to make sure that we monitor and manage it correctly. But it is going to be another opportunity for schools in the state to use those funds to go through some of the barriers that we've seen or have started to creep up with financial issues, finding land, building supplies, materials, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. And I think that's another thing that's going to slow down this whole idea of sub campuses. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. I don't care if you go through the application or you're able to the whole construction process and market, everything that goes along with it is difficult. So for the good of the order and to try and be respectful of everyone's time, is there anything that we've not had a chance to talk about that you all feel like we need to throw out there and beat up a little bit before we go back to the full charter school review board in October with a presentation of what we've come and what I'd like to ask, Nikki's been taking notes for us. And so what I'd like for Nikki to do, if she could, is to send out the minutes or the notes that she has from this meeting to us. Also, if there's anything that we need to, if we didn't get to discuss it and it hits you like a frying pan 20 minutes after we hang the phone up or just, end this meeting, to be prepared to bring that to the board, because this conversation is not a one-stop shop. This is I think something that's going to continue to be a discussion for us moving forward until the next time we're faced with the opportunity to hear a school with this kind of request. But is there anything else for the good of the order that has not been brought up, discussed, talked about yet?
I'm good.
Thank you, Linda Lynn.
I think the meeting was very productive, John.
Thank you, Hilda.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Eric, I saw you said, look, you
I
good?
agree with Hilda.
Everything okay? Shelley?
I'm good. I appreciate the time everybody put in. Great discussion.
Okay. Then I feel like at this point in time, Nikki's going to share with us the information that we're going to bring to the Charter School Review Board at our October meeting. We'll give that presentation and then obviously open it up for discussion for the full members of the board. Hopefully after that meeting, we'll be able to have something. What right now I hope that we're able to come to terms with is some sort of metric or some sort of tool that we can send out from the Office of Charter Schools for schools to see this is the steps you take in order to start the ball on, get the ball out on the court for creating a sub-campus expansion. And I think that's really important for us to make sure that, because I think there was a lot of misunderstanding with the sub-campus, and that's why I'm glad to see a definition. This is an expansion of an already existing school to another location. That's all this is. It's the same school number, the same finances, same academics, same testing standards, all that from one campus to another campus. And it doesn't sound like right now this board is too concerned about distance, as long as there's a board and there's a structure in place to govern that distance. So that's what I feel like we're comfortable taking to the board at our next meeting and throwing it out there for some discussion. All right.
Sounds great.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you very much. For your
I make a
time.
motion that we adjourn.
I
Second.
second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion from Linda Lynn, a second from Hilda. All in favor? Aye.
Bye, guys.
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you,
1:51
John.
PM. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.